Hi, my name is Jolie O'Rourke, and I'm running for Lewis County Superior Court Judge, Position 3. The reason I'm running for judge is I grew up believing very strongly in public service. I have spent my entire career in public service. I felt that I was very drawn to public service my whole life, and then when I was going through law school, I didn't feel fulfilled. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a lawyer, honestly. And I was kind of trying to find myself as I was going through law school. And then just as I graduated from law school, 9/11 hit. And that really affected me. It really motivated me to go into public service. So I decided to take a position with the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, NCIS. I was a special agent with them. I worked in counterterrorism. I worked in criminal investigations, mainly sex crimes, assaults, and then after that I went into public service serving here in Lewis County as a deputy prosecutor. And currently I'm in private practice, but 100% of my practice is in public service. I'm what they call the public defender for the day, where I assist criminal defendants at their first appearances to ensure that all their rights are taken care of and that everything goes smoothly for them. So I believe very strongly in public service. Like I said, I've done it my whole career. So when we had 2 judges retire this year, which is very rare, we had 2 retire, I saw an opportunity to serve my community, to continue to serve my community. And I was approached by the judges who also felt that I would be good as a judge and serving the community. I believe a judge should have very strong integrity, should have a calm demeanor, should have a lot of intelligence and experience. And I believe that I have those things, and our judges also believe that I possess those things as well. I've been endorsed by Judge Judge Brosey, whose position I'm hoping to fill, and I've also been endorsed by 9 other sitting and retired judges in our community.
Thank you. First question will be a familiar one for you. Drug court and the new mental health alternative have been praised by many at the courthouse. In general, explain your stance on the topics of incarceration versus rehabilitation and how your past experiences will inform your approach as a judge.
Okay. Well, every criminal defendant is different. Some people will do very well with treatment. And treatment is always preferred over incarceration because we have found incarceration is very expensive for the county. A lot of times we don't have room in our jail and they have to go to other jails where we have to pay to have them there. But that's not for everybody. I mean, there are criminals that we've known in our system for a long time that treatment is not going to do anything for, and therefore they would need incarceration. But as far as my experience and knowledge with those alternative programs, when I was a prosecutor, I was the drug court prosecutor. I sat on the drug court staff. I became very familiar with the mental illnesses and addiction that affect our community. I did that for about 3.5 years. And then currently I sit on the family treatment court, which is very similar to drug court. It's for dependency actions, and that's where parents have had their children taken away 90% of the time due to some kind of drug addiction. And so similar to drug court, they come into family treatment court where they get mental health services, they get drug treatment, inpatient, they also get parenting training and things like that to help get their kids back.
Excellent, thank you. What single job or experience most prepares you for the job of Superior Court Judge?
Well, I think recently what's prepared me the most for being a Superior Court Judge is I've been fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to pro tem. That's where I'm basically a fill-in judge, but in this situation I'm a fill-in commissioner. We have a commissioner who does most of our family law cases, and I've had the opportunity several times to fill in for Commissioner Mitchell as a pro tem commissioner. I've overseen family law cases, dependency cases, criminal cases, juvenile cases, and various civil matters as well. So that has really, really given me a lot of experience for what it would be like to be a judge. On top of that, I have a very broad experience that I think we've never seen on the bench before. I've been in law enforcement, I've been a prosecutor, and I've been a defense attorney. So I've kind of done everything there that a judge would see as far as cases. And then I've also done the family treatment court, so I have experiences in family law and other civil matters as well.
You're looking to replace Judge Richard Brosey, who's retiring. Assess his time on the bench. What do you respect about his approach, and how would yours be different, if at all?
Well, I greatly respect Judge Brosey. He's been on the bench for over 20 years. He's been a pillar of our community. And I can't say that there's much I would change as far as what Judge Brosey does. I think he does a really good job on the bench. He also has a very calm demeanor. He's tough when he needs to be. He's incredibly intelligent and experienced. The only things that because I really do respect the current judiciary that we have in there, and that was one of the reasons that I chose to run, because I wanted to make sure that continued, because we don't want our community to lose faith in the justice system, and that can happen easily if you don't have the right people in there making decisions. But I think some of the things I've noticed over the years that I would change in general, one thing that comes to mind is making sure that victims are well advised as what's going on. When I was a prosecutor, I always made sure that my victims knew exactly what was going on. As far as, this person is going to plead guilty tomorrow, or, they're willing to take this much time in jail, or they're willing to admit this. And those are very important things for victims to be aware of. And I want to make sure that they're aware that, hey, there's court tomorrow, this person is changing a plea, or they're being sentenced, or there's a hearing about evidence. I want to make sure that victims are aware of that, because I feel like we've kind of not done that as well. I feel like victims are kind of missing out. And when I've been doing a lot of doorbelling for this campaign, it's one of the things I hear the most from the community is people stop to talk to me and they ask me, hey, I had a guy break into my house and there were charges filed and then I never heard anything. I have no idea, were they convicted? Was there a trial? How much jail time did they get? I'm hearing that from a lot of people. And so I think it's critical that they know what's going on in their case. So that's one thing I would look at.
Excellent. You've got a lot of endorsements, so I'm interested in your take on how important those are for a judicial post. And then beyond that, I want you to identify one single endorsement from one individual that you think represents your qualifications for the office best.
Okay. Well, I think the endorsements are very important because who better to assess who's going to do a good job in this position than the people that do it. I have a lot of experience, I have very broad knowledge, but the current sitting judges in both district court and superior court are saying that I'm the one that should do it, and they believe in me and they believe that I have the integrity and the knowledge to be a good judge, and I think that's important. I mean, it's hard for the community, even though they're the voters and they're the ones who pick who's going to be our next judge, but it's hard for them to assess, well, does this person really know anything about the law? What are they like in trial? What is their demeanor like? The people I'm in front of every day are the ones that are going to assess that. And so having endorsements from them is huge. And the one endorsement I think obviously is I'm trying to fill Judge Brosey's position. Judge Brosey has endorsed me as the person that should fill his position. So obviously I think that one shows why I would be the best person for the position.
Excellent. Many jobs in the legal field that pay a whole lot better than the Superior Court judge.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you pursuing something that's more financially lucrative?
Because it's not fulfilling for me. I grew up in a very Christian, loving family. My parents are still married after 50 years. They instilled hard work and morals in us, and that those things were the most important in what you do in life. And I just, even as a kid, I always felt drawn to serve. When I was in high school, I was a junior in high school, and I had this little book where you filled out, where do you see yourself in 10 years, where do you see yourself in 20 years? It was for a graduation. And in it, it says, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And it said, police officer. And then it said, where do you see yourself in 20 years? And it said, judge. And so, this is from when I was a kid, and I always just felt that need to serve. I grew up in a very patriotic family where you're supposed to serve your government and your communities, and respect your community and your country, and those things have just always been instilled in me. And so I think that's why it's more fulfilling to me than something that would pay more.
Thank you. Does your opponent have any weaknesses you feel specifically make you a better candidate?
I do. I hate to point other people's weaknesses out, but I think a big one is that she has not been practicing here. She's practiced in other counties. Recently, I think for the last 10 or so years, she's practiced out of Cowlitz County. And I spend every single day in our courts. I know how they're run. I know the court staff well. I have good professional relationships with law enforcement, with the prosecutor's office, the defense bar, and the court staff, the clerk's office. And I know just how things are run on a day-to-day basis. I also know the things that are affecting our community right now, because every community is unique. And so I think that's a big weakness, in that she has not practiced here. I know that she did years ago at the prosecutor's office for I think a couple years, but she has not practiced here in a long time. I think another weakness is I know that she's been an attorney longer, but I actually think that I have a lot more qualified experience than she does, and more broader experience. She's gone from office to office to office and kind of jumped around and done different things, and I've always just kind of stayed the course. And I think another thing that kind of makes me more qualified is the pro tem stuff, because like I said, that's huge. Getting up there and actually for the last 6 months being a judge has been huge, and she has not done any of that.
Career-wise, have you thought ahead in terms of, if you're elected, how long you would want to hold that post?
I don't plan on doing anything else. I've had people, in fact, I was asked by you guys before, this looks like it's a stepping stone to something. It's not, no. I've always wanted to do public service, like I said. I love our community. I grew up in Edmonds, which was a fairly small town when I was growing up. It's gotten huge now. I went to college in the Seattle area, and I just love it here. I love the small town feel. I love the school systems here. My son has done really well in school. I love all his teachers. And we're just really proud to live here and work in this community. My husband also works here. He's a local attorney for the Buzzard O'Rourke firm in Centralia. And we just love our community. I don't plan on ever leaving here. There's nothing else that I would want to do above that. And for me, it's kind of, in this profession, it's kind of, where you want to be, so.
Excellent. One more question for you, and then you'll have a couple minutes to give a closing statement if you want. This one's kind of a lighter question. What's the most interesting facet of your life? And we're talking like a hobby, an experience, or some sort of factoid unrelated to your credentials as a judge. What would voters find interesting about you?
Well, right now I'm 6-0 in my fantasy football league. No.
That's good.
They probably don't care about
That's
that. I do. I've done a lot of interesting things throughout my career. I did a lot of stuff with NCIS that I'm very proud of. I was the liaison to the commanding officer of the base, where I provided him threat assessments daily. I was picked as one of few agents on the protective service detail of Vice President Cheney. So I've met some very interesting people, and I've done some very interesting things. I think the thing that I have found most fulfilling and important in what I've done is when I was at the prosecutor's office, I prosecuted sex crimes, particularly child sex offenses. And that, although that can be very, very hard to do, it was very fulfilling working with those young victims and feeling like, wow, I actually made a difference in this person's life. Because I dealt with a lot of children that were struggling, not just with what happened to them, but now also with their confidence, with their schooling, and their self-image and things like that. And I always took extra time to spend with them, get to know them, make them comfortable, because obviously this was one of the hardest things they were going to have to do in their lives. And I felt like I made a difference, and that's probably been the most important thing that I've done, that people out there may not know that I did.
Excellent. So just finally, just take a couple of minutes and make a final appeal to voters if you like, and we're all done.
Okay. Well, the reason that I feel that I would be the best person for this position is, as I said earlier, I have very broad experience. I have some very unique experience that I would bring to the bench that we've never seen before. Experience in law enforcement, as a prosecutor, as a defense attorney. But more importantly, I think that I would be the right person for the judge because I'm compassionate. I have a very calm demeanor. I've always been known to be a fair person. Those are things that are very, very important in a judge. Not only your experience and your knowledge, but a judge is the gatekeeper of due process. So it's important that a judge is fair, that a judge will judge decisions based on the law and not on any kind of personal bias or prejudice or anything like that. So, I mean, if you have a person in there that's doing that, then again, the community loses faith in our system. So I think that that's why I would be a good fit as a judge. And again, our current judges believe that as well because they've endorsed me and they've said, you know, that I do have the right demeanor and intelligence and experience to do this. So I want to thank you for having me here today. I want to thank the voters for listening, and hopefully you've learned a little bit about me, and hopefully I can earn your vote in November.
Thank you.